Hey there everybody, Joe here. Good to see you again. We are about to start our first water painting for this series.
As I'm looking out at all of these shorelines in the distance, between my fingers, we have a mile of distance. But then if I lower my hand, let's say this is a painting, I lower it to the lower part of the painting, now it's just a few inches. And you can see that so clearly on this bank right here. Look at that nice curve, right here along these rocks. I kind of imagine it like compressing a spring, like just if you just compressed the top of all these zigzags, the top just gets compressed while the bottom stays open and we have all the vertical change. That's how we get really nice perspective on a shoreline. We have to imagine the horizon so we don't have a true horizon, but the edge of the lake is pretty close to horizon. So where that intersects these rocks, that is the same height as my eyes. So I could say, if I just snapped a photo real quick of this scene right here, I would say, I know they snapped the photo from about 4 or 5 feet up above the water because I can see on those rocks that the horizon is intersecting at about 4 or 5 feet up that slope.
I'm gonna start with my gradient sky. So here is the pink. So now I'm gonna go up here and put my top color. I don't even need to rinse out my brush. I'm just gonna get the excess off of it. I'm gonna speed up and I'm gonna dunk the brush in water, like that. Just one dunk and then back and forth. And now I'll come up here, start painting the peak of a mountain. So watch this. Let's say, I feel like I could put some rocks kind of jumping up out of that shadow. I can drag these edges. Maybe there's cliffs on this mountain. I can experiment with a lot of different shapes and directions with the brush in this position. Now I'm just gonna dip the end of my brush in this yellow just a little because I want it on the end of the brush. And now I'll just pick a few spots at the top of this hill. I don't care if it lines up with the trees I already painted, I'll make new ones. Just pure bright yellow. And it's just a little bit. Maybe there's a touch of light striking the tops of these trees, and we can still see just a tiny bit of green. This is where I pull out my very cheap artist brush. I think this was somewhere around $5. And I'm going to need my pink that I used in the sky because snow is going to reflect the exact color of the sky. It's going to be the brightest, purest reflection because snow is just bright white, I feel ready. Let's paint some water now.
So when you look out at these rocks coming down, you can see the upside down image of the bank. But then when we look at things closer to our viewpoint, we don't see that upside down image anymore because we have to think of the reflection as being on the opposite side of the water. The reflection of a rock that's right next to me, like the one I'm standing on, I don't see the reflection of this rock because it's under the rock. It's on the other side of the water. So think of a reflection as a three-dimensional object, and the water is where it splits and does the exact same thing upside down. So on these rocks, you can just see a little strip of reflection, and that's that three-dimensional shape of the rock on the other side of the water. Just imagine the water slicing through that rock. And then we have the rock exactly mirror imaged three-dimensionally upside down. It's getting covered up by the real rock. But then when we come out here, the further I get, the more and more we're gonna see the exact upside down image. The reflections are getting bigger. So in our painting, we have to remember that our very close reflections are hiding on the other side of that rock. But further away, we're gonna see more and more of that exact upside down image. On a distant shore, you'll just see the whole image just flipped right upside down, but only on the distant ones.
Now I want to reproduce my environment on the water upside down. Let's imagine where the horizon is. Let's go like this. Make the mirror image of this. Right about there. I don't have to be so exact. This is the boundary that I really don't need to put the sky colors in because that's going to be the reflection of this foresty hill. So back here, all of these reflections, they're just going to be the upside down image, as if I folded it on the line that would be the horizon. Just fold it down. I've got it upside down. So I'm going to put this bump down here somewhere. I'm going to put this bump down here somewhere. And I'm trying to just estimate the distance, equal distance from that horizon. This crosses the horizon and then goes this far below it. So I know that I'm looking down at this. The reason that matters is because my perspective will look a lot more natural if I understand that since I'm looking down at this, the reflection is going to be slightly shorter, slightly more squished.
This is just such a beautiful example here of this gradient that we have. The more we look parallel to the water, the more we see the color of what's being reflected. So we have that sky color out there, and look at it just turning more and more the underwater color, which is brown, until we actually see the brown rocks and mud real vividly here in the shallow water. So the more you are looking parallel to the surface, the truer the colors of the reflection to the source that they come from. They become almost exactly the same when you look way out there across the glassy surface. But then when you look straight down, you see underwater. So it's all about the angles. We want to make sure that we're conscious of the angle when we paint. Are we seeing more underwater color, or are we seeing more of the source reflection color?
So here's my sky color right up in here. This is what's going to be reflecting off of this part of the water. So up in here, I'll see more reflection than I will down here because this is more parallel to my vision. And now I'm ready for my shallow water that's showing the light bouncing off of the floor beneath, the dirt, whatever's under there. Maybe it's sand. I don't know. And look at these horizontal lines. Isn't that fun? So this pink is not nearly as vivid now as it is up in the sky because it has a large percentage of my deeper water, or whatever, the underwater, mixed with it. And that's a good thing. That's exactly what I want to see. Let's put my last little touches on here, and we are ready to start putting the reflections of the objects, the mountains and the hills in here. We're going to paint our mountain upside down. We started with this color that was just the maroon and white, and so I'm just going to try to duplicate a similar shape that I had. So we've got the peak right about here. The only thing I need to do different is start gradually adding in my underwater color the further down I get. So I want deep water where that reflection is. So I'm taking this color, I'm adding it right in there. No big deal. I'm going to go across this and follow the same shape that I just defined, and maybe to help me out, I'll redip my brush in this mountain color and just get right up here to the edge, and I'm painting my mountain, painting my upside down mountain. I just love doing it this way because it's just thinking through it logically. What do we have there? Oh, okay, this is the shallow water. Let's put shallow water color. Right here, maybe we've got shallow water where that dirt goes out from this little drop off.
So if I throw a rock in this water, we're going to be able to watch that ripple go out, and then we're going to see that ripple start to show the reflection of these higher objects, the trees, the rocks. Okay, those ripples are going to go out. Pretty soon we're going to see dark reflections on the back sides of those ripples. There it is on the trees. I see it on the right. There's trees. Oh, now I see it on the rocks. The rocks are starting to break apart where the angles of the ripples are showing rock, sky, and you see the reflection coming all the way down. It's because there's a million little ripples that are all grabbing that reflection from lower and lower or closer and closer in the picture. Now, if I want to put ripples in my otherwise glassy water, then all I have to do is remember that the reflection is all about the angle. The ripples change the angle. So every time a wave tips toward this rock, we have the reflection of the rock. And then it tips toward me, and then we have the reflection of the sky. Then it tips toward the rock, we have the reflection of the rock. So you see, all we need to create a ripple is to put the reflection of the object that is beyond it. And then we have that ripple very easily. So I can use that in my paintings, just understanding, okay, you know, really our perception of the surface of water is entirely based on the image that's bouncing off of it, that reflection that's coming off of it. So we just put that rock, da, 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 and those ripples. We just create them just like that with the underwater color.
Here on the edge, if I want to just put little imperfections where the water's moving a little bit, you know, it tips at different angles, so different, you know, the reflection gets caught by different parts of the water. So I just zigzagged a tiny bit to create the impression of some not quite completely still water. And I can do that wherever I want to see a little bit of motion in the water. I can just add tiny bits of those squiggles. I can put a little bit down here, watch this, just a little stripe across there, as long as it's nice and horizontal. Now I want to add, if you said the deep water color, you are correct. All right, now for the foreground, let's put some pure black, which is not going to be pure black because my brush still has lots of these other lighter colors in it. You can see that I do that pretty frequently, just leave my brush dirty with the other colors because it ends up being something that I need to put in the mix anyway. Put this shoreline with steeper slopes to it so that it looks like we're looking down on it. You know what color I think will be good to highlight this? Let's use that color right there because this is kind of, you know, maybe brownish colored dirt. So I'm going to get just a little bit of brownish color in it by mixing that with the black. And I don't know, maybe there's some rocks in here. Let's make some little shapes. Now, I don't feel like I have to get super detailed in here. Let's just make some interesting shapes, like maybe some grass. So I'm going to get another brush. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to pull out my detail brush, and you can see how razor sharp that little point is. And so I'm going to use this to do my little details like this. I think it's going to work a lot better. Let's dunk it in the water first. I like to work with wet bristles. You know, I don't want a dry brush. And let's see if this works better. Oh yeah, look at those sharp little shapes. I love that. Tiny little grass blades. And so I remember having lots of trouble with this when I first started, and just time behind the brush and controlling how close I am to the canvas is how I developed greater ability. So if you pull out your detail brush and you go like this and you get these beautiful skinny grass blades, congratulations, you are better and faster than I was.
We can see right here really well that a dark reflection allows the underwater color to show, where our brighter reflections are interfering and replacing the underwater color with other colors because color is light. So when we have a bright sky coming and reflecting off of this water, well, that covers up our underwater color, which is brown in this example. But when we have these dark rocks blocking that light, when we have something dark, then our shadows are not seen in the water as much as the underwater color itself. So we want to make sure that we use the underwater color for our darker reflections.
So just a little bit of the deep water color. We've got this nice green color. I'm even going to put a little bit of these grass blades coming down. You know, we've got one here. Maybe the reflection of that is right here. You know, who knows what kind of grass blades would be down here. Notice I'm squiggling my brush just a little, just for effect, if there's a tiny bit of movement in that water. Let's put this one like that. A couple little grass blades in there. Just a few squiggles is good. You know, if this water is going up, tipping onto the edge just a little bit, maybe it's catching some of the skylight up there. And if I have a bunch of pink light shining around the horizon, which I do, then when this water tips up, it might be like a mirror and catch some of that right here on the shoreline, just a little bit, just a little. I want to put the snow in the reflection, because this is a bit incomplete having the reflection of this mountain without the snow. All I want to do is the exact same pattern of mixing my underwater color with the color of the snow. So I've got the colors pre-mixed. I just go back to them. We've got a little strip. Let's start with this shape. We've got a little strip coming right off the edge of that peak, and it kind of goes here somewhere. And I don't know, it kind of comes down like this, goes this way, zigzags a little bit. I don't know. We're going to add just a slight suggestion of some ripples on the water, just a little bit.
The reflection changes, so we get that rock wet. Now, if I hold it parallel to your vision, you'll see a lot of the sky reflecting off of it. And there's little bumps on the rock that are facing toward you, and those are more brown, like the rock, for this same reason that the whole rock is turning brown as I turn it toward you. So now you're seeing maybe just a tiny bit of reflection of perhaps yourself, maybe what's behind you, but mostly the underwater color, which is the rock itself. And so now if I tip it, we have sky. So imagine a ripple, front side of the ripple, back side of the ripple, front side of the ripple, back side of the ripple. We'll see the front side being the underwater color, or we'll see it being the sky and then the trees, the sky, the trees, the sky, the trees, depending on which way the angles are facing.
And so I'm going to remix my mountain color. So we need atmosphere color right here, mixed with a little bit of my maroon sunlight color, sunlit mountain color, with a little bit of the underwater color. And you can chop up this water. It needs to be real clean, horizontal lines, but you can just come in here and put little stripes. Straight across, just little stripes, where this color is kind of bleeding its way into here. There's little shapes of it that just cut into this, and they cut the shape apart. They come right up in here, and we can have this effect of the beginnings of the distortion in the shape caused from ripples. And now, you know, this lake is on its way to not being as glassy. Now, let's do a little bit more with this foreground. I think it'd be fun to just put, since I don't love some of the spots on my mountain, I just want to create a distraction from that. So I'm going to put a rock right here. Maybe we'll put, you know, another little rock right here. Maybe another couple little rocks right in here. We got rocks on this lake.
Right now, you can see the reflection of the rock, full size, just as it appears over the water. But as I lower this, the reflection is hiding on the other side of the rock. And look at the curved line. Because you're looking downward at this, we have this curve around here. And we can see that curved bottom representing our downward angle. If this was way out on the water like the distant rocks, this would just be a flat line because you're looking parallel to the water. So when we have this curve at the base of our rocks that we're painting, we might want to think about shortening the reflection because that reflection is hiding on the other side of the rock. If we measured this distance compared to the distance of the reflection under it, if there's no distortion on the water, it'll probably be a little bit shorter because this smile-shaped curve is cutting down, hiding some of that image that's under that surface.
Now, right now, they don't look so much like rocks. Let me just take a little bit of this same maroon and white mix that I did the top of the mountain with. It works good over here on this set of rocks, dirt, so I'm going to put it out on this one now. As they get closer to me, I can make them more roundish. You know, if we're looking more downward at the closer things, then I can make the base, this bottom edge of it, a little more roundish for the perspective. Now, reflection. Put a little more. This water I want to be shallower, so I'm putting more of that shallow water color. Let's do it to this one. Put some reflection under that guy right there. All right, there we go. Now, how about some little highlights? Let's grab some of this pink, and just like we did down here, we'll go a little bit right there, a little bit right in there, maybe a little spot on top of the rock, a little bit right there, right there. Oh, that was too much on that one. You know, I like the dark, but it can't be too dark because if I make it real dark, then it flattens my painting and you know, my my foreground needs to be the darkest thing in order for that to look real believable. Like that. Now you can kind of hop out there. If you really want to get to the good fishing spot, you got to hop out there on those rocks. And so you're going to catch the walleye. You know, they like being on the edge of those rocky cliffs, I know. Okay, I'm going to put a little fish jumping out there. And so I'm going to start with the splash, and I think a splash is going to be a lot of white water. White water is going to reflect a lot of the blue and pink sky. So where should we put this little guy? Where should we put him jumping? Let's put it right out in this area. A couple of dorsal fins on him. Let's put a couple of fins on the bottom side. Let's smooth out the belly. There we go. Oh man, look at that fish. That's so fun. Maybe we should go a little bit bigger. Maybe we should make a bigger fishy. Oh yeah, double fish jumped. Look at that.
And wouldn't it be nice if I just had a few little pure white, bright sparkles on this water? I'm just gonna put some little dots here, maybe a couple wherever there's a little bend in the water facing the light. Just a few bright spots.
This lake is a good fishing spot. I'm ready to go there.